Okay, shall we start?
Absolutely.
Perfetto. Okay, welcome today to Storie Italiane, which is a podcast that I recently started with my online Italian school, Dreaming About Italian. Today we have a new guest. Please, Darrell, introduce yourself.
Io sono Tanno Darrell, abito nella zona periferia di Washington DC per 40 anni. Sono nato in Cleveland. Cleveland era una destinazione per immigranti italiani, in particolare di Abruzzo, Molise. Ma Washington era una piccola città. Non erano immigranti italiani qua.
Non c'erano, ok.
Sì, non c'erano.
E tu di cosa ti occupi, Darrell? Qual è il tuo lavoro?
Adesso in pensione, ma ho 2 lauree in ingegneria, come si dice?
Ingegneria, ok.
Ero un ingegnere di comunicazione per via radio.
Mhm.
E lavorato in Los Angeles come un system engineer, anche ho lavorato in radio e in particolare in networking. Ho studiato engineering, ma dopo 5-7 anni sono muovato in marketing technical e ho lavorato in networking e comunicazione internazionale. E metto il fondazione di...
Sì, le basi, no? Hai creato le basi.
Sì,
Okay.
le basi di internet.
What about the community, the Italian community in your city? Like, is there a community in your city? Are you part of it?
Because there was not an immigrant community here. It's not like New York or many other cities where there were Italian neighborhoods. The Italians here now have come as part of it's Washington DC, right? So as part of the World Bank or for some other reasons. So it's not like in other cities that had immigrant populations. So I have some Italian friends, but it's not like that there's an old Italian neighborhood that you can go to, which now would mostly be restaurants. There is an Italian cultural society here, and I've started to be a little bit active in that. But it's not like if you were in Cleveland or
New York,
or the whole New York area. Part of the time when I grew up, I lived in the New York area in northern New Jersey. My parents were very surprised when we first moved there at how Italian it was. They just, I don't think they made them happy, but I don't think they were expecting that.
They were not expecting as many as they.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes, they were just happily surprised at how Italian it was. Right. So there was an annual softball game. The Italians versus the Irish.
Yeah, Irish is also a strong community, right, in the U.S.
That's right.
When I was in New York, I realized that.
Right.
And when did you start to learn Italian?
40 anni fa, dopo la mia prima visita in Campobasso, quando parlavo quasi niente, e mi ha detto, tu devi parlare, e ho cominciato a studiare, ma negli anni, qua, lì,
con varie pause, quindi hai studi da 40 anni ma con molte pause, no?
Molte pause, ma adesso stesso sto studiando perché andremo in Italia mesi prossimi.
Bene.
E l'anno scorso capisco quasi niente, specialmente in Campobasso, ma questa volta vorrei capisco un po'. un po'.
Certo, vorresti capire di più. E la parte difficile è che spesso magari parlano in dialetto, no?
È interessante il dialetto. Nella mia famiglia in Campobasso, la zona di Campobasso, posso vedere l'impatto di televisione. Mia cugina oldest, maggiore,
Sì, la mia cugina maggiore, più
adesso
grande.
ha più di 90, no, di 90 anni, è nata 35 forse? 35 forse.
Nel 35 lei è nata.
Sì, sì,
Okay.
sì. È the youngest,
La più giovane.
più, il più giovane adesso ha 67 anni.
Mh.
Ma posso vedere la cambio nella lingua. Più vecchio parla come la mia mamma e il giovane no, è quasi 70 anni, parla italiano, e posso vedere l'impatto di televisione per
Certo, c'è stato un forte impatto grazie alla televisione anche nelle regioni dove il dialetto era
sì.
duro a morire, grazie alla televisione, alla radio, poi con internet non ne parliamo proprio, l'italiano si è diffuso sempre di più.
Adesso sto leggendo i romanzi di Eleonora Ferrante
Elena
e
Ferrante.
lei parla della cambio della lingua, right?
Sì, lei parla del cambiamento, di come il
Sì, sì, sì,
dialetto negli anni si evolve, no,
sì,
evolve.
sì, 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 sì. E era nelle 50 e 60,
In quegli anni, negli anni
pandemia.
50, 60. E qual
Sì.
è il consiglio che vuoi dare alle persone che stanno imparando l'italiano? Che cosa consigli? What would you suggest?
Mm, adesso ci sono in internet,
Mh-mh.
YouTube
Adesso c'è internet.
e anche app come conosce Lingopie e
Mh-mh. Sì,
Ustione, ma
sono tantissime le app, tantissime.
televisione d'Italia
Sì,
come su titolo,
con i sottotitoli, esatto.
very useful, utile,
Molto utile.
molto, molto utile. Mhm. E forse class,
Secondo me il modo per migliorare, a parlare, proprio lo speaking, no, in italiano è fare una lezione individuale, secondo me.
sì, sì,
Perché in quelle di gruppo hai 5, 10 minuti per parlare
sì,
massimo,
sì,
mh,
sì, sì, sì,
e non
sì, sì.
sono tanti, sono pochi.
Sono d'accordo.
Let's move to something interesting, which
Ok,
are your Italian origins, right?
ok.
The story of your Italian family. Who was the first one to move to US?
The first one was my bisnonni,
Un bisnonno,
bisnonno paternale,
un paterno,
paternale.
sì, un bisnonno paterno.
Di Treviso, c'è come si dice, un paesino Ripolimosani,
Dov'è? In Molise, sì?
appena fuori Campobasso. E arrivato in 1900, 1900,
1900, oka
e i nonni ha avuto 3-4 anni, 3-4 anni.
erano piccoli
Poi
bambini.
questi nonni sono, sono cresciuti parlando inglese fuori casa.
Mh-mh.
Fuori. In casa parlano italiano, il dialetto di Molise. L'altro lato, il mio nonno è nato in Carpinone, provincia di Isernia, venuto in America quando ha avuto forse 15 anni. Vedi come dico 15.
Sì,
E
è
ci
il
sono
dialetto molisano.
c'è parole che sentito e posso dire solo in forma dialetto. E la nonna, la parte più interessante, è arrivato in America dopo male anni in Italia.
Dopo le difficoltà
Lei,
italiane?
era avviata in 1915, 1915.
Ok, quindi durante la prima guerra mondiale, no? Tua nonna?
Sì. Ho trovato the ship's manifest. You know the ship's
Il
manifest?
manifesto dell'imbarcazione della nave?
E
Wow,
la mia nonna ha avuto la storia più interessante. Era di un paesino Matrice, anche vicino Campobasso. E quando era giovane, andata in grande città di Campobasso, ha lavorato in casa come cameriera. Il padrone ha immenso power, right?
potere, ha tanto potere il padrone di casa.
Sopra ragazza rustica, povera
Certo.
ragazza. E eventuale lui la violenta molti volte. Gave birth, ha avuto, had due bimbi, un ragazzo e ragazza. E finalmente il suo moglie deve detto basta.
Certo, basta con questa
Le-
violenza.
lei deve andare. La mia nonna lasciata il suo figlio.
Her
Sì,
son.
sì,
Uh-huh.
è orfano.
Okay. She
La-
left the son at the orfanotrofio?
Probably, right.
Sì.
Ma la famiglia ha tenuto la figlia, ma l'orfano si chiamava
Il bambino si chiamava
sì, ma per 50 anni they wrote, right?
yeah, they didn't see each other for 50 years, right?
Never.
Oh, never. Okay.
Never. They wrote each other all the time.
Si scrivevano, no?
My
Sì.
grandmother could not read or write.
Yeah.
And Dominic Mazzarino wrote wrote letters for her. They wrote to each other all of their lives. Even fino quando lui era prigione in Australia durante la guerra. So per me sempre ho avuto un zio in Italia, ma in Cleveland, in America, perché italiani viaggiando in gruppo?
Sì, gli italiani viaggiavano in gruppo.
Sì. Ripoli Mossani, per esempio, una volta, 10-15 anni fa, chiedo qualcuno in Cleveland, right? Di dove sei? Di dove sei? Lui risponde, Ripoli Mossano. Anch'io, Ripoli Mossano.
Ripoli Modano che è un paese piccolissimo, si incontrano a Cleveland.
But the problem is that, okay, I have to speak English because this is a more serious topic. But the problem was that people knew her, and they knew that she had this child,
Yeah.
And she had been, excommunicated because of this. And the people in Cleveland, Italians, knew her, and this was and they really did not like her, and they called her Punta, and I remember my mother telling me this, and then she told me that she remember asking her mother, why are they saying this to you? And so there was a very not a good story. So it must have been painful. It must have
A
been
lot of
painful.
women went through a lot during the 40s, the 50s, especially in the south of Italy,
Right.
in Sicily, in Campania, in Molise. I have stories from Molise as well, like your grandmother.
The conditions in Campobasso were very bad in the war, and they suffered terribly in the war. But because I always had this uncle in the 1950s, one of my uncles served in the American Army in Germany, in the Army of Occupation, and visited Campobasso. He went to Campobasso, and as it turns out, fortunately, he took some pictures. These are the pictures that I eventually went back. My grandmother died in about, I don't know, 1965. And the contact with was lost. I don't know why, but anyway, it was lost. And in the about 1985 or so, I said, I will go back. I will go to try to find these people. And on the bus from the airport, I met some guy who was going to Campobasso of all things. He brought me. We took the bus together. He dropped me off at the Roxy Hotel. It was a Saturday, and on Saturday night, I went around with these little pictures.
Yeah.
A girl in her first communion dress, and it was a boy with a soccer ball. And I just went around to all the bars, wherever I found people, I asked. And then finally, I met somebody who had lived in Baltimore for 2 years, and he said, "Oh, I speak English. I can help you." Which in Campobasso was like, wow,
Oh, wow. A miracle.
jackpot. And he then went around. It was easier for him, right? And
Of course.
somebody did recognize the girl in the first communion dress, and they said, "Oh, she lives here." Well, it turned out it was her sister lived there, and they were moving that weekend, so I didn't make any contact. And then the next day, I don't know. To make a long story short, I made contact the next day, and I had the photos, right? The proof, right? Because Italians would always assume that you just picked them out of nowhere to cheat somehow, to steal. But
yeah, maybe to
but
get citizenship or something like that.
right. But I had the photos, and they knew of our. I mean, they knew that that my mother existed, and that was it. I mean, they welcomed me immediately, but I only spoke a little bit of French, and even though they all claimed that they took French in school, they didn't really speak. They didn't really speak any French. But they were, they welcomed me. I mean, there was no. It was just like I was just
Part of the family.
Just without any, without total acceptance, and on my side too. But for them, it was just, hey, this is we know of his mother.
That's amazing. That's a
Yeah.
really like happy ending for you.
Right.
Really glad. Many people, they went to Italy. They tried to find their roots, but they couldn't. So you're a lucky man. They were really.
I mean, these are the children. I mean, who are older now and dying. I mean, they are first cousins. So we're not that far removed.
Exactly.
And I don't know. A few months ago, I have a cousin who lives in Florida. And she said, "Darrell, I want to go to Campobasso," and she did. Well, she looks like them, which is really funny, right? So, when they see her, they say, "Oh my God, she looks just like Viola.
She's part of the family. You can tell.
Right. And then after after I had visited there, my parents had lent me some money to finish, school, graduate school. So I said, okay, I will pay you back by sending you to Italy. And they took a tour, but they then went to Campobasso, which was very funny. Because then for them, I mean, that was just Tia Giuseppina. And
They
plus
knew
my
their
mother.
names. I mean,
Oh yeah, right. And my mother spoke. I mean, she spoke the dialect. But it was very different. I mean, she could just, that was it. She was fluent in the dialect, and the dialect is not, it's not that different from Italian. It's very similar. I mean, you
yeah,
drop it's
sometimes.
probably like, I don't know if in Naples, but in the dialect we drop the final
Yeah,
vowel, right?
in Naples is like that. In
Right.
Molise, I found actually the dialect from Molise sometimes has some French influence.
Oh, okay.
They say oregano, they say le pelliere, and I'm like, when I first heard that, I was like, what's that? And I'm
Yeah,
Italian.
yeah.
Like,
I
what's
don't know.
that? And
And in Naples, do you say the sh biscot for like cookie?
Biscott. Yeah, we have the shk. We
Yeah,
do.
biscot. So there was no s sound. It's all in
Yeah,
sh. Biscot. No, not biscotti. A
yeah.
uh, a it's interesting because some of these words I only know in the dialect. The Baston,
Because of your parents. Now you have been growing up
the
listening to
Baston,
your parents.
questa qua, la maestra, la maestra,
Yes.
tre volte, prosciutto, I can't say prosciutto.
Prosciutto, prosciutto.
Right.
Yes.
And recently, I don't know, like 2 years ago, I went to a grocery store near me, a supermarket, and I wanted to buy. I was looking for prosciutto and soppressata, and the guy behind the counter had no idea what I was
What was
talking
that?
about. And I realized that I had no idea. I understood why he didn't understand me, but I had no idea how to say what what I was
In Italian.
what I was looking for. So I had to go in the store and find the prosciutto and soppressata, and I
I
got
have
it.
one last question for you there. Then I have a class, unfortunately, but we can do this again because I really enjoyed. I have a question. Do you think that your Italian origins have like influenced your personality, your life, in general, overall?
Yes, and so this is interesting because I realize it more now that I have been to Italy a lot. And and listen, you'll appreciate this. When I say Italy, I mean southern Italy. Okay, for me, did I tell you about the motorcycle test? The
No?
more small motorcycles there are on the highway, the more in Italy you are. So in Milan, there are none. It's just these big Moto Guzzi and these, you know. And as you get to like Toscana, every now and then there's a small
Yeah.
bike. In Rome, there are a lot, and it's like
Yeah.
but it's under 100 cc displacement. And then in Naples, it's sono
This
come
river,
boschi e
like
arti
flies.
vespe, vespe, sì.
See, they go
And
everywhere. Yeah.
that's my judge of how much I am in Italy. So for me, Italy is really southern Italy, right? The old
Mm.
kingdom of the two Sicilies.
Yes.
That's Italy. And when I am in the northern part of Italy, which I don't go too much, but I've been there. For me, I'm really not in Italy anymore.
You
I'm
don't
in
feel like it.
no,
Mm.
no, no. I'm in Europe,
Mm.
really, realizzato per Italiani. So it's sort of like it's Europe, but designed by Italians. It's a different place. And even last year when I was in all southern Italy, we did a big tour in southern Italy, and I would meet Italians from Milano and Bergamo and stuff. And I would just say, they knew exactly what I meant. That for them, they were vacationing to Italy. And that's what so for me, that's what that's what I find. For me, Italy is southern Italy. And I feel, your question was really, what is the influence? But I see it more now that I have been to Italy. So you don't if you don't travel there and you just grow up in America,
of course you will feel American. Yeah.
You don't recognize the cultural influence that came through your parents. So to me, when I see Italians of even still of roughly these ages, right? So because it's more than 120 years now, right? So I'm 70 years old. But when I see, for example, the New York area and New Jersey area, I see that culturally, Italians had a big impact on those areas. Those areas the people are more social than you would think.
So what would be like the impact on you? Like, could you give us an example? Like,
I think what it is that there is a certain sensibility, more Italian. I think that my impact with people is it's more Italian. I noticed that my older brother, who is dead now, my older sister, my younger sister, and me, we all at some point worked in sales. So I think we're very comfortable
with people.
And if you see because because you live there, you don't. But for Americans and for me, I see how the Italians interact with each other, and they are much nicer. I mean, I get a sense that Italians like each other, and I don't think it's no. But in general, when you see, and when they ask me about life in America, I say la vita America è una cattiva vita. It's not I don't think it's a nice life. And in Italy, I think the reaction of people among all social classes is, even though you think it as distinctions, for me, I see how much they really do live together.
Yeah, there is a sense of community more.
That's right, and so I mean, your original question is how has this sort of impacted me now through the generation? It's probably in America it's being diluted, but for me, who was still, all of my family was Italian, all of my uncles except one, married Italians. I mean, so. But that's what I see, and I didn't really realize that until I spent a lot of time in Italy. That I think, oh, so that's, I'm like that because of, my father in the supermarket.
Because of my Italian blood, like
that's right. My father in the supermarket, and me also. I thought it was just me, but I saw him in the supermarket. How much my father would talk to everybody. And people would talk back, yeah? And in America in general, it's very different. It's very different. Now, the plus side is that you have a lot of freedom in America, personal freedom, and women can do what they want.
Absolutely.
And I don't more than I see in America, and particularly in a place like Molise, which does not have as much opportunity. I mean, I brought three girls from Molise here 5 years ago, right? Just to see, and I wanted girls of about age 15, just to see, a different life for women. And one of them now is doing graduate work in structural engineering, and one of them is now what's the, I forget now, the police, the national police,
Carabinieri.
Carabinieri. Thank you.
The Carabinieri.
Yeah, she's one of them. So I mean, I hope it had some impact. Like my daughter, the one who lives local, is a doctor. So I brought them to the office, and they could see a woman doctor, but so there are certain. I mean, you travel back and forth. You see some of the differences. But in my own life, that's what I see.
Well, thank you so much for today, for being here with me, and for sharing your story, and for being so open with us here today.
Of course. I'm sorry that I had to change the English.
It's okay.
When it's more complicated,
Of course.
I mean, it's easy to mangio la pizza, right?
Of course, when you have to talk about like complex stuff and even sensitive things, it's English is more comfortable to use.
Well,
no
of
problem.
course, yeah. And I'm trying to get beyond that. Well.
But thank you so much for being here with us today, and I hope that we will talk again.